Okay, right now I'm checking my fuel. We just checked our oil, make sure everything. That's a little Tomahawk that's getting ready to pull off. There's another Piper, that's the new one coming in over here. I'm sorry, it's the new Cessna. That's the new baby right there. 300,000, that little plane pulling in right here. So we're checking this is make sure there's no water in the fuel. And so we're looking at the fuel now. Checked it. You said the little cutout right there represents 30.
The very bottom is 15. The cutout in the slot there's what we call that is so they call it the bottom of the tab is 15. The slot itself is 20, and all the way full is 30.
You mean all the way up here?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, it should sit flush. Come right to the back, and then fold it back and down. Twist it. There you go, and then fold it back and down. There you go. So. Does he have any? No. Then a lot of times the moisture gets in there, especially if it's not flying often. That's why airplanes need to fly like weekly. And then so when you do fly it, you want to fly it enough to get the moisture out of it. So one thing people will do is they'll fly it and then pop that cap loose so the moisture can get out. And you'll see the moisture generally around the top in the lid. So we just kind of push that in, let it kind of, ooh, come on now. And then make sure it's twisted and so make sure it's like it's threaded and locks down. It's not like off to the side or whatever. Okay. But never over just crank these things tight, especially on the Cessnas. People have a tendency to over tighten them. And I'm just looking for any kind of bird nest, anything that looks loose or weird. Right down, it latches under. Make sure this is on this side. If you're not careful, it'll spin around on you. Make sure it's on that side, latches down. And that pushes in, and at the end of it, when it locks in place, it ought to be into the wind, so the wind doesn't open it.
Gotcha.
Same thing on this side. Try to stick whatever these little parts that might be sticking out in, and lock it down. And then in, and turn into the wind.
Okay.
All right, now you get the fuel. All right, so look right there. So you're gonna grab that with these teeth, and you're gonna go up, and I think it's up and to the left. Just twist it just a little bit, and then basically when it about a fourth, maybe make it about four to 5 seconds of fuel comes out, then turn it back. So up and to the left, all right. All right, yeah, and then see how you let it back down. There you go, that's it. And then just make sure, like people will pull the bottle away, but they didn't turn it, so it doesn't lock and engage again. So yeah, then you're just looking for any kind of water, trash, debris. Yep, so hold that way, get up.
Okay.
All right, so if there was water in here, it would float at the very, not float, it would be heaviest, it would be at the very bottom.
Okay.
And then I just kind of swirl it and see if there's any trash. Notice it's also got a blue tint. All right, so you could pour it back in there, but then the FAA would be like, wait a minute, well, you just poured contaminated fuel back in your plane. And then other people, if you had a bucket, you just poured in that, or you just kind of do an air dispersal where it mostly evaporates. But if you just poured a pile of it, it would start delaminating the asphalt. So there's always a trade-off with, do you keep the FAA happy? Do you keep yourself happy? Do you keep the airport happy? Do you keep the FDA, or I'm sorry, the EPA happy? So there's always a trade-off. I like the air dispersal method where you just kind of evaporates. So that way it's not just any big pool there that tears up. Right, so now, if he had opened this, cracked this window, I could probably reach it. So now just go in there for a second, and you're going to turn the one that says battery. Then I'm going to have you turn this way.
Okay.
Yeah, open that one. There you go.
Okay.
So this is the battery, so hit that battery on.
Battery on.
This is your stall horn. You hear that? We're getting ready. We're getting too close to the stall. All right, now over there, turn on one. I see your landing lights on. Turn on your nav light. All right, throw on your rotating beacon.
beacon is on the tail.
Yeah, it's on the tail. Switch on. Rotating beacon, turn that switch up.
Okay.
There you go. Rotating, but it looks like the bulb might be out.
Yeah.
And then over here on this one, you got green. So when you got those nav lights on, it's kind of like a boat. You got green on your right wingtip, you got red on your left wingtip, and you got a white one out there on the tail.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay.
Throw your laser lights on.
Okay. Looking for landing lights.
All your lights are right there. So turn those other ones off. So okay.
Turn these off?
So so turn that one off. Turn the one next to it off. All right, next one off. Now turn the pitot heat. The last one, turn that back on. Pitot heat. No, pitot one next to it. P-I-T-O-T. Pitot.
Oh, Pito. Okay.
All right, and then try that landing light one more time. Alright, so this is your airspeed indicator out here. So the pitot tube is your ram air for your airspeed. Alright, so it's getting warm. You can turn that off.
Pito off. Okay. Landing lights.
Hey Bryce, do you know has the landing light been out on this one? Okay. Okay, you can turn that off then?
Landing light off.
Yep. And then we'll turn the battery back on.
Battery off.
And then you can see over here your fuel gauge can show the full and full. So you're looking for
Yep.
quantity and quality.
Quantity and quality. Okay. Stay in, all right.
Yep. And then let's do one more thing. So now right between the seats there on the floor, you'll see a handle with a white tip. Yep.
Yep.
Just grab the handle without touching the white tip and pull that bar all the way up. Now look at the wing as you're doing it. Now hit the white tip and very gently let it go down. See how you're adjusting the shape of the wing?
Yep.
So those are called your flaps. Right, now bring it all the way up, and it should lock in. There you go. Just leave it
Okay.
up.
Flaps up.
What oil are we putting in this one? W100? W100.
Yeah, just add some more so it should be good. It is good. I got 6 cases of them in there. They just walk off with the case because they think they got enough. So we checked the oil, we checked the fuel. We can just put all that stuff back in there.
Okay.
We're going to take this one, we're going to lock it back so the dab is closed. Just going to set that right there for now. All right, let's finish our walk around. So, you recording or something?
I am. Is that okay?
Yeah. All right, so we just put the stuff back in, so we might as well just start right here.
Okay.
So we're gonna check, hey, that step is good, this flap, see how I was telling you, like, we don't step on that part, because if it was intermediate, you stepped on it, it might would fall. But if it falls and you catch your foot wrong on that, you might just break an ankle or leg or whatever. So better to hold this handle, step from here
Okay.
while holding that onto that.
Gotcha.
All right?
Okay.
So now notice there's a double row of rivets here, and so that means that there's more forces on that part of the airplane. So if I reach under there, all right, so reach under there, you'll see there's a flap hinge. So you're just making sure that that nut is on that screw. Feel under there and find the nut, make sure it's there.
Yep.
And
At the
then-
elbow?
Yep.
Yep.
And then look right here at that little bar, and then just kind of give that a little twist. It needs to be just a little bit of play in it, just a twist like that. That's all you need.
Okay.
You want to make sure everything didn't come off. All right.
Okay.
Then we're going to come over here, and what's that? Another double row. There's probably a hinge under there, right?
Yep. Hinge.
All right.
Okay.
Then while we're right here, might as well look at the back of that tire.
Mm-hmm.
All right, it looks good with the exception of, looks like, see how somebody's had a little flat spot there, right? So they got on the brakes. Don't land with your feet on the brakes or it does that.
Okay.
Notice that there's no leak right there. So if there's gonna, if they bleed the air out of the system through this little nipple. And so sometimes if it's not tight enough, it'll have a little brake fluid leak right there.
Okay.
All right. So just looking for a little play. It ought to be just a little bit, but it shouldn't slide left or right real hard. Make sure all these like nuts are there and there. This is their covering. If this gap thing wasn't there, I'd reach my hand in there and just make sure that bar's got a little twist in it. But that covers to help it get more air speed. When we do that, if I bring this one up, if you look all the way across, as this one comes up,
That one
goes down.
Okay.
So this thing turns by, when this comes up, it kills the air or the lift over the top of the wing. So when it kills it, the right wing will fall. Now that wing will go down and it will catch more air and it will raise. So if one goes up and one goes down, it'll start to turn toward the one that basically goes down.
Gotcha.
So then what we'll have to do is we'll have to coordinate and basically add some rudder. And you'll see, I'll show you how to do that later. This is good. This is what we were checking a while ago with the lights. It's like a boat. Green on the right, red on the left, white on the tail. That way you get a 3-dimensional look at night, planes moving around you. You can tell if they're coming at you or not. Notice that this is blocked. You can only see this from the front or from the quarter. Once you get to the back, you can't see it. You only see the white on the tail. Now right here, crawl down there by that tire. So you see that yellow valve stem? It's metal. It's like a car valve stem, but it's metal. Gotta make sure that's on there. And then you see that cotter key that goes through and then it kind of makes a bend? That cotter key's got to be there or that whole tire comes off.
Gotcha.
So always make sure it's there and it's not busted.
Okay.
So the tire looks good. This is your brake line. All that looks good. That's a disc brake. All that looks good. Another flat spot. See that?
Yeah.
Dang, what people been doing. Alright, so this is secure. Now if you want to just take a peek in there, we showed you the other side. Alright, so these are your motor mounts. Alright. Some planes have a starter alternator. This one's got a generator. These are your air and heat lines and everything. These are your exhaust. These are your cylinders. If you look up on top, you'll see the fins on top for cooling. So the air comes on top, and these are baffles. So these baffles are basically here to keep the air trapped into this part of the compartment, and then it creates an area of high to low pressure that goes through the fins to cool the engine. All right. And what else? There's your muffler down there. This is like a centering spring for the nose wheel. This is your magneto. There's 2 mags on each one. It has to do with like spark ignition sources. And we'll talk about that later as we're flying. Pull this back down. I can show you on that other side. Oop. See how that one twisted around on me? So just gotta make sure when you do it, that side. There we go.
Wrong side, isn't it?
Yep, wrong side. Yep, and turn it into the wheel. Perfect. So then just kind of check. Locks in tight. Everything else is fastened. Looks good. All right. I'm going to check out, again, here's your alternator. Our generator on this one. Sometimes there'll be an alternator there with a belt. The older ones had a generator and or a starter. All right, right here you're checking the prop. You're just looking for any kind of nicks. A nick or a ding that's out here is not as critical as one that's up high. All right, so this is a fixed pitch prop. It's a Cincinich brand. This is the spinner. We're making sure all these caps are on there. All right. We ordered a new one of this because it's got a crack on the bottom that's starting to run. So we'll get a new one of those put on there. Yep. We're looking in here, making sure there's no bird nest or anything. Checking out the prop right here is good. A lot of times the muffler, I'll just kind of kick the muffler. The plane just lands, so you don't want to grab it. It might be hot.
Right.
Just make sure it's not loose and broken and making some weird noise. All right, so we just check the oil and make sure this one's back on. Set down right, cover. That's good. All right, checking out again. The yellow valve stem cover. You're looking at that
And the copper
pin.
key.
Yeah, we just put a new tire on it, so you're making sure the tire's not rubbing either on the bottom of this knuckle or It'd be bad if a nose tire's got a flat spot on it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have brakes, which means it kind of just hit it to the side or something. You look down there at that tire, look at the brake line, look at the disc. Oh, that's good.
Yep.
All right. And that's just what I checked earlier with that angle of attack. Not angle of attack, sorry, the stall horn.
Mm-hmm.
So what ends up happening is Venturi equation, right? Bernoulli's equation. See how this is kind of shaped and more rounded on the top and more flat on the bottom? So it's kind of like a half an hourglass. Like, you know how an hourglass comes in and goes up, and it goes faster as it's going through, and then it's real slow up here, but as it gets faster, or it gets closer to the throat, it moves faster. So as this comes up, imagine another one's coming down up here. This makes the hourglass. So with that bend. So the air comes here, and it has to accelerate across that wing. So two little particles are coming at the same time. They hit this wing at the same spot. One goes high, one goes low. The one on the top goes faster than the one on the bottom, because it's got to get to the end of that wing at the same time. By going faster, it creates an area of low pressure, kind of like when you hold your thumb over the hose. It accelerates, right? The water coming out. This is your landing light. Sometimes there's two lights there, landing and a taxi light. This is your pitot tube, so the ram air going in there tells you how fast you're going with your airspeed. So we're looking there, it's all good. Talking about your nav lights, it's the same thing on this side. These plastic, sometimes you'll get like a little crack in one of these and it'll run, and they'll drill stop it. Again, these things are like $700, so don't push it into something.
Wow.
That's before you paint it and put it back on, right?
Yeah.
Notice the yoke there. If I come up to this side, it turns left. If I go down on this side, it turns right.
Oh.
The opposite side goes opposite. See that? Alright, now we're going to look right here, make sure that nut's on there. We're going to do the same thing. That bar runs underneath there, but we can't really get our finger to it, but it's connected. That nut's not on there. We're going to play in this. Yep, the nut's on the bottom there. Look at the back of that tire. Look at the rim. Look at that bottom of the pin. Look at the leaks.
Little play.
Right. We're going to keep going. This is your static air for your altimeter. These are your antennas. This is just an air vent. Antenna, GPS antenna. VHF 1 and 2. This is the emergency locator transmitter. Called an ELT. This is for your ILS antenna. That's your beacon.
That's pretty cool.
So when a prop is going to be spinning, you normally turn on some beacon light. So today those beacon lights weren't working. So or the rotating beacon with the ball wasn't working. So we'll have those guys look at that on Monday. But we'll basically put the wingtip lights on just so people know there's power from the plane. Because if somebody's blind, I'm sorry, not blind. Somebody's deaf.
Yeah.
Then you'll look, but you don't see that prop spinning unless you really know what to look for.
Yeah.
So the goal is that they don't just walk into a moving prop. And there's several instances at night where people jump out of a plane and walk into a moving prop. And it either kills them, or takes an arm off, or something. So we never want that. So you have to make sure that as the pilot, if you see somebody walking toward your engine, you just shut it off with the fuel conditioner. All right. So now looking here at this. This thing is a stabulator. See how the whole surface moves? So it's more sensitive. Sometimes you just get a half. This part might be fit, and only the back part moves, and that's called an elevator. So like the Cessna, like if you look on the back part is hanging down. You see that? That's the elevator. Something wrong with that one? Making sure this is all connected, and that's in there, and you're looking up in there. Jack, you remember Tony?
I do. How you doing?
How you doing,
Jack,
Frank?
he's our chief pilot.
Nice to meet you, Jack.
You guys gonna fly?
Yeah, we're gonna go up and do his pilot experience, and then he's got some classes that he's doing, but then eventually he's gonna come back and finish his private pilot when he can, and then think about buying in a share so that he can fly kids, and eventually he says he wants a Cherokee 6 so he can fly 5 kids around with him and do all that kind of fam orientation, Young Eagles kind of thing for the, especially.
In the right place.
Yeah. I don't know. So how'd your thing go with you buy your flight review?
Oh, when?
No, man, we were struggling this morning getting them started. They didn't come and plug them in last night, so they were cold.
And you flew the,
I flew the Vulcan Air, started right up, did great, no issues.
you saw my numbers on it?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
Now that was 165 pounds, half fuel
Right,
on a
right.
standard day.
I understand. Yeah, she performed like a champ today. And she was good. So then there's a static air on both sides, so on each side of the back. On the new one, if you end up flying that one, they're on the front. All right? So then again, you're just checking if the antennas are good. This is locked and you know, kind of open. And so at that point, you're pretty much good. So then you just kind of want to walk out and take an entire big picture look at the plane. So I've got that tow bar there just so we can pull it out when we're ready to go. So one of these guys will be out of our way here in a minute. And then you just come here and you look at the whole big picture and you say, okay, well, Slim's got his phone and iPad. We got to get the tow bar. Other than that, everything looks like it's sealed. There's nothing open. Everything looks like it's closed and ready to roll. All right. Cool. Now, one reason we don't start airplanes like this too is when you started, you'd blow a bunch of trash in the hangar. So we always pull them out and then tow them and then cock them off 90 degrees.
Gotcha.
So we will walk inside and just get a quick briefing and a plan, and then this lady will be going. She's a helicopter pilot now.